Hey colleagues, so I've received some requests to provide more detail about how I paid off my student loan debt, and I think it's great to see basically anyone interested in personal finance. However, instead of rattling off a long diatribe and listing how I actually managed to pay them off in 500 days or 16 months, I felt it would be better to show rather than tell. As a result, I'm going to document my journey each month. I'm doing this so you can see how I did it over time, mainly so you can see my highs and lows, the big wins and the massive setbacks, the mundane and the exciting parts, all over time. Because 500 days to achieve a goal is more of a marathon than a sprint, and I don't want to sprint in my explanation, but rather have each of you join the journey as I went through it so you can apply it to your situation. So for those of you with more or less debt, simple or complicated finances, varying or stable income, I feel like I could join you on your current journey as we dialogue together as you follow me on mine. Now in this video, I will take a look back at my net worth and loan payoff progress. So we will talk about debts, assets, liabilities. Oh, that's kind of redundant, but mainly just the beginnings to set the stage for how I will be tackling the situation from the start. So debts. Typically, debts include credit cards, mortgages for housing, auto loans for cars, and student loans for education. Now, I don't have credit card debt at the moment, a mortgage, or a car loan. So how I'm going to describe this is I'm going to talk about, for debts, the type or the provider of the debt, the amount, principal, and interest of the debt, the interest rate, the minimum amount due, and then the due date. I feel like it's a good way to organize where I'm at, and that's how I organized it. So for credit cards, I have a Visa card. I have a $0 amount to pay off because I pay it off each month. The interest rate is 22.99%. Oh, let me go back. I have a $0 to pay, and also I have no interest on that because it's $0. The interest rate is 22.99%. The minimum payment is $35 or 1% of the total due balance, and the due date is the 25th of the month. I have another credit card that is also a Visa. I have $0 to pay, no interest on that at the moment. The interest rate is 24.99%. The minimum is $25 or 1% of the total amount due, and the due date is the 5th. So for mortgages, I have no mortgage, so I don't have a provider. The amount is 0 because it doesn't exist. There's no interest rate, minimum, or a due date. For auto loans, I have no provider. I have no amount, so there's no interest accumulated. There's no interest rate, there's no minimum, and no due date. However, as you all probably know, I do have substantial and significant student loans, 5 in total. So this is actually where we'll get into more of the details. So loan number 1 is from Mohila. Actually, all my loans are from Mohila. Mohila is my loan servicer. But loan number 1, Mohila, it has a principal balance of $11,355. These numbers are rounded just for simplicity. And the interest that's accumulated on it is $2,340. The interest rate is 6.25%. The current payment is actually $0, and it's due on the end of the month, basically the 30th. I will mention $0 for all my loans because they're all scheduled to have a $0 payment, and I can go into that in another video. But currently, all my loans have a $0 payment required. Loan number 2, amount owed is $21,280. The interest rate that's accumulated since I've been in school was $2,850. The interest rate is 5.75%. A $0 payment due at the end of the month. For loan number 3, the total principal amount was $12,130. The interest that's accumulated since I've been in school was $860. The interest rate was 6.25%, and the total payment was $0 and it's due at the end of the month. Loan number 4, the total principal borrowed was $13,260, and the interest that accumulated since I was in school was $550. The interest rate was 6%. Minimum payment due is $0, and the due date is the end of the month, basically the 30th. The last loan, loan number 5, has a total balance, principal balance that I borrowed of $29,615, and the interest that's accumulated since I've been in school is $530. The interest rate is 6%. So in total, for my student loans, I owe Mohila a principal of $87,640 and interest of $7,130 with an average interest rate of around 5.9%. So now, I'm sure you all noticed that I have a $0 payment on all my loans, and I can explain that better in another video, but it is legit. I do have a $0 payment, and there's details within that, but I'll go into that in another video. But some good news, I got a job offer at a private infusion company, and as a result, now that I've secured a job, my plan is to pay off loan number 5 first due to what's called capitalization and the way interest appears to accumulate on these loans. Then use the avalanche method after that. Also more about the avalanche method and how I'm paying it off at a later date. So my total debts, when you look at credit cards, when you look at auto loans, when you look at mortgages, when you look at my student loans, is mainly just my student loans. Total debts are $94,770 in debt for student loans at an average interest rate of 5.9%. Now, assets can include many things, as they're simply put anything that can reasonably be sold for value. Typical assets include investments like retirement or personal investments, real estate, for example, residential, commercial, or business property, cars, such as motorcycles, automobiles, and I would say even bikes, I guess, cash equivalents or savings. And with businesses, I mean, like let's say you have an online business or you have a website, you can technically sell that if you are the sole proprietor or owner for value. Again, I don't have all of these, but here's a breakdown of those items. Now, the way I'm going to explain these is I'm going to talk about the type, the estimated value, and the purchase or inception date. So investments like a 401k or IRA for retirement, I have none of those. I don't have any 401k or IRA, and I haven't started it, so I have no purchase or inception date. Though I do plan to start a 401k or IRA soon, now that I've got a job. Investments, number 2, let's say I work for a public employer, there can be pensions, 403b, 457, or let's say I'm just an individual investor and I just have a brokerage account. I don't have either of those, so the type, I don't have those, no value in them because there's nothing in them, and then I've never purchased or started one. Real estate, as I mentioned before, I do not have a mortgage, I don't have a house, so the type does not exist. Estimated value of my house is also non-existent, and purchase or inception date does not exist. And I'm gonna stop right here. The reason I talk about some of the items, again, that I do not have is because if you do have them, this is a good way of kind of like getting yourself to evaluate all of the things that might be impacting your net worth as a whole. So the reason I go over them, even though I don't have them, I think it's good to like keep track of what you might have in the future or where it's been in the past as you change, because your life will change, and this is kind of like a gauge of how you're progressing in your life. Moving back on, after we finish real estate, let's talk about business or sole proprietor, LLC, or S Corp, as well as a whole bunch of different things that can count as businesses. I don't have any business that I own or can sell for money, so there's no type. Estimated value doesn't exist, so there's nothing. And I don't have a purchase or inception date because I haven't started one. However, I do have 2 of these, which are cash equivalents / savings, as well as a car / motor vehicle. So cash equivalents / savings, I will go through 2 examples. I do have cash equivalents and savings. I have them at a retail bank. The total amount in the retail bank is $1,100 in savings. And the inception date when I started this was when I was in university. It was around 2016. And the retail bank includes like Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America. Cash equivalents and savings can also be in other things, not a retail bank, such as an online or investment bank. And I'll go over that. I do not have any savings in an online or investment bank, and I don't have a purchase or inception date because I don't have those. However, online or investment banks can include Discover, Ally Bank, Marcus, TIAA, CIT, and Morgan Stanley. These are banks where basically it's kind of a quasi-investment, but it's a low return investment normally. Now, the last thing, car or motor vehicle. I do have a car. It is a mid-sized sedan that includes like a Ford, Honda, Toyota, Chevy, Tesla. My sedan value is around $12,000, and the purchase or inception date was in 2016. Now, my total assets are the car and my savings, and that equates to $13,100 of value that I have. So in total, my net worth, if you do car, minus an auto loan, which is my equity in the car, plus cash equivalents and savings, minus the debts of my student loans, my net worth amount is negative $81,670. So that's where I am at currently in June 2020 if I take a look back. So I'm hoping to start this journey and with the job lined up, pay more on the debts and actually focus how I'm going to pay them. I've discussed it a little bit, but I'll get more information in the next month's update. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you all for joining. I hope you start your own journey. Later, colleagues.